Good evening, everyone. How is everybody doing?
Doing well, thank
Good,
you.
good. Good. Thank you, doctor.
Great.
Good evening,
Uh,
Dr. Adu.
Good evening. Happy Friday to everyone.
Good
Happy
evening.
Friday.
Good evening.
Happy Friday to you, doc.
Good evening, Dr. Edu.
Good evening.
Good evening. Happy Friday. So tonight we have a very interesting discussion. I think last year we did a similar one, but 2025. Let's look at what we should expect, and if anything, there's going to be a serious change when it comes to cybersecurity tools. So that is going to be our discussion point for tonight. We are going to go through some of the tools, and then we have a discussion panel. We have a panel of our own experts who are going to come through and give us some insight into the tools they are using and how they are using it, right? And then also, if you have any questions when it comes to tools and in cybersecurity in general, you can bring it up, right? So before we lose anything, let's start recording. All right. So welcome everyone. You're welcome to Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and we appreciate you being here, sharing in the knowledge with the Eretmis family, and then also coming here to grow as a professional and also to network with like-minded cybersecurity professionals. So if you are new, this is the first time. We do this every Friday night, and it's free of charge. So we encourage you to join us. It is being transmitted live on YouTube, and then also the video will be posted as well. So you can always go there to watch the replay. And for all cyber chats that we've had in the past, we have it on YouTube. So YouTube is a whole school on its own, right? And for everybody who's been following us for cyber chat, we give it all, right? Any topic that we pick, we give it all. Sometimes, some people will be wondering, why are you giving all this, stuff that people are, paying for free? We give it all. I mean, there's more to share in cybersecurity space. So if you are getting this for free, then when you get into the main programs that we have, you are going to get more than you need to be able to excel as a security professional anywhere. So you're welcome once again. Tonight, we are going to be looking at the top for 2025 cybersecurity tools that you should know as a cybersecurity professional or an aspiring cybersecurity professional. So if you're already in the industry, you cannot know all the tools. You cannot know it all. Nobody knows it all. Dr. Edu don't know it all because the little list that we are going to look at today, we just picked only 21 categories of tools. You will see the extent, of the tools that we have in the security space. And then that might probably also help shape your perspective about tools and how much time you should spend on mastering tools or learning tools, right? So let's jump into it. Tonight, Michael is going to be my co-pilot as usual, and I'm going to be your captain, leading the whole entire trip. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu, for those who are not familiar with me. I'm a former United States Army captain. I have been doing cyber chat for the past, I think we are in our 4th year, thereabout, right? I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc. I'm also the founder of Eretmis Academy, and I love mentoring, sharing knowledge in the cybersecurity space. So every evening, we do this every Friday night to help our own community grow as security professionals. I'm also a former professor at University of Maryland Global Campus. So I appreciate everybody's time. Let's jump in. So for Eretmis Academy, we are partners with CompTIA, right? We are CompTIA authorized partners. And what this means is that CompTIA gives us 20% discount for all vouchers that we purchase through our partnership. So we push that down to our students and, Eretmis members who join us on Cyber Chat on a weekly basis. So if you are looking to sit for any of these certifications, you can always, reach out to us and we will be able to help you with a 20% discount. Now, this applies only to CompTIA, right? Other certification bodies, they don't have discounts to give. So only CompTIA is doing or running this program at this time. When the others do, we will surely, partner with them and give you that discount as well, right? So you're welcome. And for everyone who has written certifications, or you have a certification that's coming up, is about to expire, you can choose to sit for the exam again, or you can choose to use continual educational points to renew, right? So you can choose to sit for it, or you can show that you've been learning for the past 3 years when you took the certification, and you can use that to renew. So if you, for like CompTIA, if you go to their website, you type in renew your certification with continuous educational points, or they call it CEU, some other organizations call it CPE. It doesn't really matter. But if you are here tonight, you can put hashtag Team Live in the chat, take a screenshot of it, and that will count as 1 point. For, I think for CompTIA, you need 50 or 20 thereabout. I'm not sure. That will count as 1. And even for the videos that we have on YouTube, if you go there and you are watching that and you take screenshots of that, you will be able to use that also as continual educational points. So we appreciate everybody's time. We are going to jump in. We have a WhatsApp group that you can join. I think the main WhatsApp group is full. We have another one dedicated for cyber chats. So that one, the link is going to be posted tonight. So you can join the cyber chat group. That is mainly for cyber chat, right? And the other one is for general cybersecurity. We post mainly cybersecurity stuff in there and have some, wonderful cybersecurity discussions in there. It's pretty a very decent group, right? Nothing outside cybersecurity. So you're not going to get bombarded with all sort of notifications and stuff. If anything is on there, then it's worth your time and your effort, right? And for our YouTube channel, like I said, everything that we do on Friday night goes on our YouTube channel. So we are streaming live. So you can also watch us on YouTube. And we encourage you to subscribe and share to any family member, friends who want to jump or who want to continuously improve themselves in the cybersecurity space as well. So for tonight, we will look at a quick cybersecurity news, and then we will do look at our cybersecurity tools, and we do our panel discussion. So for cyber news, I think it was last week that we discussed the TikTok, right, news. TikTok, they had up to Sunday of last week to either sell some of their shares or they get banned. So they were banned for a day, right? They went off Saturday. I think they went off themselves, kind of discontinued their operations in the US. And then on Sunday, they came back because they said President Trump is working with them, right? So TikTok is now, I don't know how that is going to go, but we are waiting to see how that, plays out. Now for tonight, we have PayPal in the news. Most of us have PayPal. And what is PayPal in the news for? So PayPal, they got fined $2 million for exposing New Yorkers' social security numbers, so sensitive information, right? Their PII, PayPal's PII were exposed by PayPal. And this was, I think, around 2022 was when this happened, thereabout. So what happened was that I think like the details we are going to go into, but they've been fined, and reason is for this exposure. So they are supposed to pay the money to the Department of Financial Services to the New York State. So bad for PayPal, but I think good for New York State. And I'm wondering if any of the people whose data were exposed are going to get any of this money, or is just going to go to the states, right? So according to a consent order that was released, PayPal, they discovered the problem around 2022, like I was saying. And that was when after, I think like a security professional in their company saw this online PP exploit to get SSN. And this was how they did a follow-up. And then they realized that attackers were trying to really, the traffic on PayPal, people trying to log in was a little bit higher than usual. And attackers were using credential stuffing form of attack to, gain credentials from PayPal users. And they were using that to view the tax, federal tax forms of a lot of customers, right? So that is how PayPal got into this. And the reason why attackers were easily able to do that, and reason why PayPal is being penalized, is for negligence, right? They've concluded that it was negligence on the part of PayPal. They didn't really put in strong security measures, and that is what led to this. So that is why they are getting fined. I think in 2019, when Capital One also had that AWS issue when they also got breached. DS, I think they paid 80 million. PayPal had this is like a slip on their wrist, because I think like the number of customers whose data have been exposed is not in the millions. So that is why they are getting away with this. For Capital One, I think it was 100 and something million customers whose information were exposed. Kindly mute yourself. I think I keep muting someone and the person keeps on muting themselves. All right. So with that, we are going to move forward.
No, really, I don't hate it, but I don't.
So kindly make sure you are muting yourself, or we'll put you in the waiting room. All right, so kindly bear with me. Let's move forward. And before we jump into the tools, if you are looking to become an AI governance specialist, we have the right course for you. We've started our AI governance course already, started on the 20th. And kindly give me one. Okay, we started on the 20th. Very interesting course. For everyone in there, we are just doing intro. So it is not late for you to join if you're still looking to join this class. And then also for our cloud security, we've started that also already. They all started Monday this week. We're also in the intro. Pretty interesting. And folks in there, they are going to learn a lot. And then also their internship comes with both of them as well. So you are not just going to be learning, you are going to be learning and doing at the same time, right? So you can join any of these courses also as well. And the date for the next upcoming one is probably going to be tentatively somewhere ending of February or early of March. So the date is yet to be put out. And for folks who are looking to branch into cybersecurity, switch careers into cybersecurity, if you're totally new to IT, we got you. Our cybersecurity entry-level course is the right course for you. It comes with training, internship, where you're going to work on real-world security projects, and then also we help you with job placement assistant as well. When help with interview prep, resume, and all that as well. And then also for folks already in the IT cybersecurity space, if you are looking to specialize in one of the lucrative niches in cybersecurity, then we encourage you to look at our PCI DSS course, which the next cohort is starting on the 13th of February. So, and then also internship, we are starting our new internship cohort on tomorrow, Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Is when our first session is just going to be meet and greet. So our previous interns, 10 a.m., they've been pushed to 10:30. So if you're in their previous one, you've been pushed to 10:30. So for tomorrow, our first meeting is just going to be for 20-30 minutes just to introduce ourselves. And then the following week is when we're actually going to start looking at our projects that we are going to be working on. So for folks, if you've already done some training, RMF, GRC training here and there, and you are liking the real world hands-on, you don't know how the job is supposed to be done, or you are on the job already and you are struggling. There's a lot of folks like that. On the job already, you are struggling because your foundation is weak. This is the place for you to learn and grow, and also to actually do, to help you be able to have that peace of mind and that soundness at work to be an effective security professional that you have to be, right? So with that, we are going to jump into our tools. And for our WhatsApp group, the link is going to be posted. Also for our YouTube channel, kindly make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube. So for tonight, we are looking at top 2025 top cybersecurity tools that you should know. Now, when we talk about cybersecurity tools, for anyone who is very new to the cybersecurity space, tools, just like how we have it in any trade, they help us to do things easier, faster, right? And to make our lives a whole lot easier. In the cybersecurity space, tools help us to do the same thing, right? Now, only tools cannot do the job. Humans are doing the job, but tools will help really make us more effective and efficient, right? Some of the things that we do without tools, we wouldn't be able to do it. And then also some of the things that we do, tools cannot really do unless we are doing it. So if you say a tool in cybersecurity, we are simply referring to a bunch of softwares that we are using, right? So a tool is any specialized application software is what we are referring to, or a platform also in the same space that we use to protect our networks and systems and data, Now, a tool can also be hardware, right? Because software and hardware, they kind of work together to help us have whatever tool and run the tool. So it's not only software that is going to be the tool. Nobody should misquote me on that. Both, are working hand in hand. There are some tools that are, even if it's, an application is a web application, you're still going to need your laptop, your systems, your servers to run it, right? So when we talk, we are just speaking about software. It doesn't necessarily mean no hardware is involved, obviously. So these tools, they help us to protect our data, which is mainly what we are doing. Cybersecurity is all about protecting our data. Now, we cannot protect the data alone because the data is also being used on systems. So we have to protect the systems that are handling the data, the network on which this data is being run, the platforms that we are using. So all of that we are protecting. And then also we are protecting the people who are exposed to this data, the processes that we are using to also handle this data. All of that we are looking at. So the tools, they help us to do this, right? They help us to do the protection, reduce risks to a negligible level or as an acceptable level by the organization. And when we come to cybersecurity tools, there are a whole range of them, right? Just like how if you go to any field, there are a whole categorization of tools for different things. If you go to a mechanic shop, there is a categorization of tools for different things. If you go to the hospital, categorization of tools for different things, right? So different categories are used for, and as a security professional, at least you should know one from each category, so if you want to really, jump more into the tools or go much into the tools, you don't really necessarily have to waste your whole entire career chasing tools because every day they are making new tools. All you have to do is at least know some tools. And as you are moving forward, the organization that you're working in, they might have some tools you might not be familiar with. They will, give you some orientation on it or some training on it, right? And then you keep growing as a security professional. So we are going to look at some use cases. So tools, as we use it in the cybersecurity space, they are used for threat detection and prevention, for data protection, for compliance and regulatory requirements, right? So for threat detection and prevention, tools like your intrusion detection systems, your firewalls, and others will help us to identify any bad traffic that is coming on our network and help us to prevent and detect and prevent as well. For data protection, how we store, where we keep our data, we have to protect it, and some tools, we use some tools to also do this. And for compliance, staying in compliance with any regulatory framework, PCIs, the HIPAAs, and the rest, we use tools to the actual assessment, not necessarily using a tool, but to gather your data, your evidence, and everything in a very efficient way. Tools will help us to do this, right? And then also for like your third party and others, you are not necessarily, when it comes to the actual doing of the work, not the tool is going to do it for you, but the tool will help you to do, some things easier. So for example, like collecting data and collecting compliance reports and others. If you have a tool that you are using together with your client or in your organization, that helps to make it faster and more efficient, right? And for incident response and forensics, if there is an incident, we have to respond to the incident, make sure we are bringing it to the recovery stage whereby we can get back to our operations. So there are tools for incident response, for communication, and then also for handling incidents as well. For forensics, also, if an incident happens, we have to, investigate and see what really happened. For scalability and automation, there is a lot of use cases just within scalability and automation that we can also discuss. But we are going to look into a categorization. So what are some of the different categories that we have? What we looked at are just use cases. So we are going to look at some categorization. So why is it even important for us to categorize tools? Is important because categorizing it, one, as security professionals, it helps us to make sense out of these tools, right? And then also if we have a need for a specific job, or we have like the need for like something that we want to do, we can easily reference to the category and okay, if we want something to help with detection and alerts, given as we know we are directly going to SIM tools, right? And then within that category, we can easily, pull any tool, or we will decide on which one to use. Now, it helps us to, like I said, make sense out of these tools, because when we just put all of them together in one big basket, tendency for you to get confused what can do what is high, because there's a lot of tools around, right? So we can categorize it into the two main areas of security as a professional. So whether you are defending or attacking, we can do that categorization. But still, we can go further and break it down even more, because sometimes some tools can be used on the red team side. It can also be used on the blue team side. So whether we are defending or attacking, some of the tools, they cross, boundaries. So some of the key takeaways that you should look at when it comes to categorization of these tools, which we are going to look at the categories here shortly. So for regular updates, integration, automation, and analytics, and then also for skills and training, like I said, it helps us to make sense out of all them. I'm not sure if it's millions or thousands of tools that we have, right? So we are going to jump into some of the categorizations, and then once we are done with our categorizations and looking at some of the examples, we will jump into our panel discussion. So let's jump in. The first tool categorization that we are going to look at is our endpoint security and EDR. That is our endpoint detection and response, right? So this is one very common, tool that is used for the name kind of gives it away. So endpoints, your laptops that you are using, your mobile devices, your phones, your tablets that you are using, all of them are classified into this space, right? And we need to be able to protect such devices that we are using. So endpoint security and endpoint detection and response tools help us to do this. So for the purpose of our discussion, the main purpose for our endpoint security tools is to protect individual endpoints. So the individual endpoints are the ones that I mentioned, right? Individual endpoints are what I just mentioned. So some of the examples that we have, for endpoint tools, CrowdStrike, they have their CrowdStrike Falcon. I mean, they have more tools than just the Falcon. We have Microsoft Defender. We have your normal antiviruses. You have VM, Carbon Black, and others. And this is just an example of the list of tools within this category, right? So as we are moving forward, I think we are going to be looking at 21 categories. So you will see the number of tools that we have in the security space. For every category, we will list at least 4 or 5 of these. So as we move along, you'll be able to see more tools. Now, the next one is your network security and firewalls. So for network security and firewalls, unlike your endpoint tools, this is to protect your whole entire network. Right now, firewalls, you can also have firewalls that are host-based. That is for your endpoint, right? But we are looking at network security here. So the purpose is to monitor and protect your network and network traffic to ensure that we are doing everything right when it comes to security by preventing unauthorized access and then also filtering malicious traffic. Some of the examples of firewalls that are out there: Palo Alto, one of the big ones; Cisco, one of the big names; Fortnite, one of the big ones; Juniper and Checkpoint, also some of the big firewalls, the big companies within that space, right? So let's look at the next categorization that we have. SIM tools is one of the very common categories that everybody will be used to. If you are writing Security Plus, you are prepping yourself as a beginner in security, you are going to run into SIM, right? This is the Security Information and Event Management tool. So this category is one of very interesting categories, because for a SIM tool, unlike your endpoint tools, unlike your network and firewall tools that are actually directly in line collecting data and preventing traffic, and SIM tools, they don't really do any of that, right? SIM tools we configure SIM tools to pick information from, or we forward all the information from all the other tools to your SIM, so that SIM tool just collects and makes sense out of the data from your firewall, from your intrusion detection, from other endpoint tools, and it really puts everything together for it to make sense. So with your SIM tool, you'll be able to see the security posture of your organization in real time, right? If there is any alert from any of the tools, the SIM is also going to let you know, right? That is why it's information, security information and event management. So your SIM tool doesn't directly deal with traffic or touch anything. It is wired to gather information from all the other tools will be sending information to your SIM. So that is how SIM is configured and how SIM works. Now, some of the very popular examples, we have QRadar, we have Splunk, we have SomoLogic, LogRhythm, Microsoft, Sentinel, right? And there's a lot of them. I think Archer is one of the big ones also in this space, but we didn't even list Archer on here. So yes, and this is, as we are moving along, you are going to catch on the trend. If you are wasting your time, right, trying to chase tools and you want to master QRadar without mastering cybersecurity and how to do your work as a security professional, I will still go back to my word. You are wasting your time, right? That is not to say you shouldn't know any tool. You should know some tools that come your way, but don't wait, because you cannot master all these tools, because there is more in this category than what we have on here, right? And if you get to an organization and they are not using QRadar and you're an expert in QRadar, then right, and you cannot be looking for a job just specifically just for QRadar or for Splunk. I mean, unless, of course, if you want to work for the company Splunk itself, right? But no organization is going to employ you as just a QRadar expert for cybersecurity, and you are doing nothing else, right? So we have to be cautious of that, right? Now, another big category, so we have our security orchestration and automation and response category. And this category, the purpose for this category is to automate repetitive security tasks and also orchestrate incident response flow, and then also integrate various security tools to speed up threat response. So most of your SOAR tools, you are going to have a kind of a SIM tool embedded in it, right? It's pretty tricky here. So most of your SOAR tools, they kind of work similar with your SIM tool. So you have kind of a SIM tool embedded in the SOAR tool. And some of the examples that we have on here, Palo Alto, one of the big ones, Splunk also have a SOAR tool. Now, for almost all the companies that have SIM tools, they just with a little add-on, they are able to easily, turn it into a SOAR tool, right? So this is one category as well. Now we move into another big category, identity and access management category. And the purpose of these tools, their main goal is to help us manage users on our networks, right? So we manage the user identities, privileges, and then also policies to ensure that only authorized people will have access to our network and data that we want them to have and systems that we want them to have access to, right? So for identity and access management, Okta, one of the big ones, CyberArk, Ping Identity, ForgeRock, and then Microsoft Azure Active Directory also. And there is a whole list of these ones also there. This is just an example or some examples for us to look at. Now, for zero trust network access, we also have some tools within this space. And the goal for this category is to ensure that we are enforcing the principle of zero trust. So we are always going to verify, we are not trusting anybody on our network. Some of the examples, we have Google Beyond Corp, we have VMware, also have their own. Netspoke also has, they also have their own. And these are some of the examples within this category. And then we are going to move on. So we are moving a little bit faster, not taking too much time on them, because our panel members will also have to give their take on what they are using these tools for in real world, right? So that is why we are going through, just to give us some good background and intro into it. So for cloud security and for cloud security posture management, these tools, like the name suggests, mainly to help us with security in the cloud. So protect our cloud workload and then also infrastructures by identifying misconfigurations, ensuring compliance and monitoring threats in real time, and almost all the cloud service providers, they have their own inbuilt cloud security tools that you can use. Some of the ones that you can also, add to what they have already as an add-on is the Palo Alto's one that they have, Wiz, and then we have Orca Security also as well, and the list goes on. Microsoft, they have their own checkpoint for CloudGuard, also are some of the examples within this category, right? Now we are going to move into one of the very common ones in terms of category, vulnerability scanning and management. So the purpose of this category is to help us identify vulnerabilities on our network. So network scans that you are going to do within your organization, tools are going to come from this category, right? And knowing and being able to identify vulnerabilities on our network helps us when we are doing risk management and vulnerability management to be able to come up with solutions and remediation strategies to help prevent attackers from being able to take advantage of our network. So examples, Nexus, one of the big ones, Rapid7 Insight VM, Qualys, one of the big ones also as well. OpenVAS, OpenVAS is a free one. The rest you have to pay for them, right? And for all these tools that we are looking at, I think for the most part, some of them, even the ones that don't have free ones that are totally free or like a community version, some of them will also allow you to do, I think like a trial. So you can do maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So that is an opportunity for you to play around with the tool and see what it's all about, right? But as an individual, as a security professional who is trying to break into the industry, your best bet is to use most of the free tools to familiarize yourself. You cannot and you shouldn't, spend a fortune purchasing any of these tools just to practice with it, right? Unless, of course, your school has it already and you want to use it. But these tools are not cheap. They're expensive, right? So they always have free versions that you can practice with. Now, with web application, firewalls, and API security, the purpose is straightly in the web, how we are protecting our applications in the web and APIs. And some of the examples that we have, F5, sorry, and we have Cloudflare and others. So the list is what we have on here. Now, we are going to move on to our next category. That is going to be email security and phishing protection. So this is also one of the big categories. Tools within this space, they help us to catch malicious emails, spam, and then they also help us with data loss prevention in some shape or form, right? So kindly make sure you are muted. Okay, so it is very important. These tools, they really help us when it comes to the email side of things. Some of the examples that we have, Proofpoint is one of the big ones. Mimicat, also one of the big ones, and Microsoft, they have their own, and others. So there's a lot also within this category. So for all the categories that we've been looking at, there are a lot of tools. The little ones that we have, the 3 or 4 examples are just examples that we can, go through for the sake of time, right? So before we jump into the other tools, like I said earlier, if you're looking to specialize in the AI governance space, we have the right course for you. And then also for cloud security, our cloud security class just started together with the AI this week. And if you are looking to also master the cloud in terms of you being a security professional who is dynamic in the cloud and on-prem, then this is the course for you. And for folks who are looking to branch into cybersecurity from no IT background, no cybersecurity background, our cybersecurity entry-level course is the right course for you. Comes with training and then also working on projects and then job placement as well. And then for folks looking to specialize in the most lucrative niche in cybersecurity, you can jump into our PCI DSS training. The next cohort is starting on the 13th of February. So let's jump back into the next category, which is the threat intelligence platform. So for threat intelligence platform, it kind of works side by side with your SOAR tool and your SIM tools, right? You cannot use these tools without having those as, kind of your backup or using them alongside. So the purpose of this is to, gather your threat data and then also track emerging threats and integrate this intelligence into how your team is going to stay ahead of your malicious actors, right? Some of the examples that we have: Recorded Future, Threat Connect, and others are some of the examples that we have for the threat intelligence platforms. Now, data loss prevention, I mentioned that earlier when we talked about the email tools. Now, data loss prevention tools, they are also kind of, most of the email security tools have data loss prevention in it, in one way or the other. So you can have a standalone data loss prevention tool, and then you can have the email example with like Proofpoint. They have some data loss prevention element in there, which helps prevent if you're sending out social security or something outside your company's network, is going to prevent that, right? So Samatech and Forcepoint, McAfee, and the others, the traditional, folks who started off with antivirus, they are the ones who are also still in this space. So you can, for data loss prevention, you can do either way. Mostly if you go with the email, if you are looking at it strictly on the email side, mostly that is how exfiltration of data occurs. But you can have it even beyond emails to help prevent data loss and exfiltration within the organization. And we have encryption and key management tools as well. Now, these tools, they help us when it comes to cryptography, managing our cryptographic keys and everything that we do in the cryptographic space. So it helps safeguard data, address data in transit, and then also for encryption that we are doing and hashing and all of that. These tools will help us do that. Some of the examples that we have on here. Now, for anything AWS, obviously, it's in the cloud. VeraCrypt, and then we have HashiCorp, Vault, and others. All these are some of the encryption and key management tools within that category as well. And then we have container and DevSecOps security tools. Also, these tools, they help when it comes to software development, right? And the development cycle and the software development itself, everything that has to do with software development and application development, these tools will help in the protection of software in general. So Aqua Security and others are some of the examples that we have within this space. Now, deception technology. So these tools fall in the category of what we call honeypot or honeynet. So if companies want to trick their attackers to think the network they are attacking or the system they are attacking is the real system, but then it's like a duplicate or a fake type of the real one, then they will employ such tools, right? So these tools, they help us to deploy honeypots and honeypot systems to deceive attackers. And then not just to deceive them, but as they are attacking it, we'll be watching them in real time to see how they move and the type of activities they are doing on there, to learn from that to help prevent ourselves from getting breached. And some of the examples, elusive networks and others, are some of the examples that we have on there within this space. Now, the next one that we are going to look at in the category is mobile device management and mobile threat defense. Now, most companies who issue mobile devices, tablets to their employees, they have the software on there, right? And even, okay, let me give a very good example that everybody can relate to, because if your company, you don't have a cell phone or any of these, you probably wouldn't be able to relate to. Now, if you purchase a phone from T-Mobile, from Verizon, from any of these companies, and you don't purchase it outright, but then you are paying monthly, right? You know that until you are able to pay it off, they don't, like, the phone is locked. You're able to use it, but it's locked, right? If you put any SIM card in from any other service provider, it wouldn't work. This is the reason. The mobile device management. And then also for you, if somebody steals your phone, you can just go into your T-Mobile account and lock the phone, right? You can go in there and block the phone. You're able to do that because they have a mobile device management tool installed on there. A mobile device management software is on there, right? But if you, so even for them, when they open the phone for you, they are still going to have that on there, right? So you can still block your phone. You can, So companies, they have, so if let's say like T-Mobile was a company that employed you and they gave you that phone, that is how it works. So if you lost the phone and you have sensitive data on the phone, they don't want anybody to have access to the phone. They can wipe all the information on the phone with just a click. So somebody can steal the phone and have it, but they can't have the data on the phone. They can only have the phone, right? So they can format the phone and reuse it, but the data they're not going to get their hands on, right? And they're also able to use this to track exactly where the phone is at. So like the ones that you have in still, Android and others, they have some mobile device management. There are levels, right? So it depends on how much you want to control the device will be determined by, what you are going to purchase in terms of the tool, right? So these are some of the examples that we also have out there in terms of mobile device management tools. Now we are going to look at PKI and certificate management tools. Now, these tools also, they fall within the cryptographic tool set. And the goal is to manage your digital certificates and encryption keys. We did the cyber chat on cryptography. So if you're not very familiar with cryptography, with certificates and encryption keys and the different types of encryption algorithms, you can go back and look at that video, right? And these are some of the examples of these tools also as well. And we are going to look at password management, which is one of the biggest tools categories out there as well. That also falls under identity and access management tools that we looked at. But we have others that are strictly just password management, right? And then also privilege access management. And for those ones, the purpose strictly to help us store, protect our password managers. And, these, the web applications that, not web app, the browsers that we use, they have some password manager tools embedded in it. If you are like, you go to a website, you create a username and password, Google Chrome will ask you if you want them to store your password, and that is a password manager, right? So some of these things we are using in our everyday life, we don't even have to work in cybersecurity to know. So that is an example of password managers, how they work, right? So the next one, DNS security and content filtering. So DNS security and content filtering also helps us to keep our network safe and secure. And then also it helps to monitor and filter DNS queries. So going to websites or going to trying to have resources from other devices, either internally on your network or outside your network. These tools, they will help us to prevent some of the DNS attacks that are out there, right? Some of the examples, Cisco, Umbrella, Palo Alto, and some of these, they are also embedded in your firewalls, right? So, but if you can have it as a standalone tool as well, right? And then incident response, I think, will be the last one or the last but one. So incident response tools and forensics, also the purpose is to help us manage incident response and then make sure we are able to bounce back and come back to our normal operations, and the effects of the incident is minimized, right? I think we looked at forensics and incident response before. Maybe probably this is a duplicate. Then the last one, behavioral, analytical, and user and entity behavior analytics, right? UEBA. These tools, they also work. I've seen a couple of SOAR tools that comes with this category or this type of tools embedded in the SOAR tools. And then within the SOAR tools, they also have SIM tools embedded in them, right? So I'm not sure if anybody has experienced any of such SOAR tool, you can bring it up when we come to the discussion portion. The purpose of these tools is to detect or to have the tool to be able to, most of the AI tools, they fall within this space, right? You can also have this kind of embedded in your firewall. So because our stateful firewalls that have the AI twist and on, some of the next generation firewalls, they have this twist to it. So they're able to monitor and make decisions on their own, whether traffic is bad or good, right? They use a baseline to establish what is going on. So that is what these tools are used for, right? Some of the examples, Varonis is one of the big ones. XApp, Beam, and others are some of the tools within this space, right? And with that, we are going to jump into our panel discussion. If Michael is ready, you can introduce our panel members, or our panel members can introduce themselves, and we are going to jump in. But before that, our internship is starting tomorrow. New cohort is starting tomorrow, and we are going to jump into our panel discussion. So, Michael, if you are ready, you can take it away.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. This is Michael here. I think we are 52 minutes over the top of the hour, so we'll dive straight into it. So I have the pleasure of speaking to you all today. We'll just go ahead and introduce our panel. And I'm going to mention the name, just making sure we have all of them here. So we'll go ahead and start with Michael, our very own Michael Yeboah. Just making sure, Mike, are you on deck?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Okay, we got Michael. Also, we got Teresa. Teresa, are you also on deck?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Now, also, we got Bernice. Bernice, I hope you are here.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, all right. Kwame, our very own Kwame. Are you also here?
I'm here, sir.
All right. And we'll wrap it up with Frank. What's up, Frank? How's it going? I hope you are here as well.
Here. Yeah.
There you go. All right, we'll dive straight into it. But before we do, it's very interesting when Dr. Edu was introducing some of these cybersecurity tools. But one thing that really stuck out to me is, over the years, you see some of them acquiring others. It's very, very, very common. You see it. Like, Splunk, for instance, Cisco has acquired Splunk for like about $28 billion, like a couple of years ago. We all know CrowdStrike. It's a very big one as well. Actually, the owner used to work for McAfee at the beginning. He started with EY, PwC, worked with McAfee. So he had the experience. He was a pen tester. Very interesting. You can read up about him. So he used to work with McAfee. Guess what? He set up his own and, created his own company with CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike actually just bought also QRadar. QRadar belongs to IBM. So it's very interesting when you hear some of these companies, and once they keep increasing their aperture, they start acquiring some of these companies, and it's very interesting. So we'll start dive straight into it. So our very own, I know most of these panel members, they've been very regular. Most of you know, but for the sake of those who don't know these panel members, I'll start with you, Bernice. Ladies first, if you don't mind. Bernice, just a quick 10-second introduction. Let people know who you are, company you work for, and so we can people can know you a little bit better.
Okay, yeah. So as you said, I'm not new to most of you here. So I'm Bernice, currently working as a information system officer, popularly known as ISO. I work with Intellidyne as a federal contractor. So that's I don't know. You said 10 seconds, so. If any other questions.
I appreciate you sticking with the 10 seconds. All right. So thank you so much, Bernice. All right, let's pivot straight to Teresa as well. Teresa, can you please give a quick intro?
Sure. My name is Teresa Nyantechi, and I'm currently the Vulnerability Risk Program Manager at CVS. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Teresa. And now we will go ahead and straight pivot to, in this order, we'll go with Michael, Kwame, and Frank. So Michael, if you're done, please don't wait for me. Kwame, go ahead, introduce yourself, and Frank.
Okay, yeah, Michael here. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Michael, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, Michael here, GRC analyst, and I've been with the Eretmis family for about 3 years.
Hi, my name is Adoma or Kwame Udru. I'm a cybersecurity manager in the Boston area. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Frank Osei. I'm program manager for PC Ideas as Compliance with Global Partners.
All right, and there you are. Welcome all our panel members. Just want to use this opportunity to thank you all for always availing yourself and sharing your knowledge and insights. For those who are yearning to join the cybersecurity family, we really do appreciate your time, and we'll make sure that we go straight into it. So now let's start with you, Bernice, if you don't mind. Can you just give us just a high-level overview with some of the cybersecurity tools that we just talked about? Can you just highlight any specific tool that your company use? So some of the team here can know how it works and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. So currently I'm using a tool called CSAM, which is Cybersecurity Asset Management. It falls under the compliance tool. So this tool is used for asset identification. So definitely as a security or cybersecurity professional, you have to know what you are protecting. So this tool help us to have an inventory of our software and hardware. So the same tool also help us with our continuous monitoring. And okay, let me go back one more step. So this tool is also has been configured for the risk management framework, which we call the RMF. We need to be in compliance with this framework. Framework is developed by NIST, so we have to be in compliance with that risk management framework, which is used to manage risks, privacy and security risks. So the RMF step, all the 7 steps has been configured in the tool. So we use this tool for the steps until the system has been authorized from the initial stage to the authorization stage. And after the system has been authorized, we need to continuously monitor the system. So we use the same tool for our continuous monitoring for POEM, which is plan of action and milestone. We use the same tool for the continuous monitoring, as I said, in terms of tracking any weaknesses, gap that was identified during the assessment phase of the RMF steps. So we use that to track our poem until all the gaps or the weaknesses has been resolved. So as an ISO, I'm in charge of that process. I coordinate with the system team until any gap has been remediated or weaknesses identified from scan report, like Nexus scan report, Splunk report, and all that. So we use the tool for continuous monitoring process as part of the RMF steps, and management or senior management see all this information, what is going on. They have a dashboard. They see the progress of their point management. And the same tool, as I said, is used for inventory. It's configured with other tools like BigFix, Nexus. So if any asset is being decommissioned, we have a dashboard for the asset management. So every month I do inventory review. So the same tool help me to know what asset has been decommissioned, because we get information from Nessus. If it's not able to scan, it will reflect, and I have to coordinate with the system team to confirm that I see one of the asset is not being scanned. We follow up to confirm if it's been decommissioned or if it's done or it's not, why it's not online. So we need to coordinate, or I coordinate with a team to get this information. So we also use that for vulnerability management. So as I said, the tool is configured with Nexus and other security tools. So we have a dashboard, and I'm able to see the security posture of my assigned system. So every ISO has their own assigned system. So the same tool, which is the CSAM, is configured in such a way that we can do our vulnerability management. Aside getting the Nexus scan report through email, automated to email, I'm able to see the vulnerability management. There's a dashboard that I see all vulnerabilities related to my assigned system. So out of that, I'm able to coordinate with the team in terms of strategy, remediation plan, and the senior management is also able to see. So for anything, they'll reach out to me as an ISO to find out why those vulnerabilities has not been remediated, and I have to give statuses of those and the progress. And if it cannot be remediated within the timeline, I need to create a poem and work with a team until it's resolved. So in a nutshell, CSAM, which is cybersecurity asset management, is used for asset identification, that is hardware and software inventory, to keep inventory of like the system components of all my assigned systems. So that is one. And also the same tool is used for, as I said, for the RMF process, to make sure we are in compliance, because every quarter we have to report to OMB. So the tool help us to be in compliance, and they help us because you'll be given 2 weeks to report for FISMA reporting. So this to help us to kind of know the security posture to make sure we are in compliance with our FISMA reporting. And we also use the tool for risk assessment or risk management, as I said. In terms of vulnerability, we know what vulnerability we have, how we're resolving it, and we have the poem also which fall under the risk management. So in a nutshell, that's the tool that I use. I use other tool like Microsoft 365 for collaboration, for email. We have Teams for meetings. I have SharePoint. So that is the main tool I use. I don't have access. I used to have access in my previous job concerning Tenable, but currently I don't have access. I just get the report in a spreadsheet. So I have to know Excel to be able to filter vulnerability. So I use aside Word, which is used for taking meeting notes and all that. I also have to know Excel. As I said, I get my vulnerability scan report in an Excel spreadsheet. So you don't have to be an expert in Excel, but you have to know how to filter out, how to look for information. And I also get my Splunk report in the Excel spreadsheet as well. So aside CSAM, I also use Microsoft 365 applications. So that is it for now, unless you have any other question for me.
Wow, there you go. That's Bernice for you. Welcome to our GRC family, Bernice. I always say she's one of our GRC mafia. She can give you inside out anything you need to know about GRC. But just for those of you, I know she's been, throwing out a lot of acronyms. Just for those who don't know, so she's an ISO Information System Security Officer. She typically works in the government space, like she was talking about. She talked, much about event asset discovery. Of course, you need to make sure that you have inventory of all your assets, right? You cannot protect what you don't know, right? So we all know our next cybersecurity framework, our categories, right? Identify, right? Protect, detect, respond, and recover. Identification is very, very critical, and that's exactly what she was talking about. It looks like maybe one of these days we might probably have to have Bernice to just give us a whole overview about RMF, and starting from asset discovery, identification, all the way to system categorization, assessing ATU, and also continuous monitoring. So maybe probably we'll have another session for that. I'm sure there are some people here trying to go into the federal space so they can learn more from you. So there she is, worth of knowledge. Thank you so much, Bernice. I'm gonna pivot to you, Teresa. If you can quickly also let us know some of the tools that you use within your company. Which ones do you use very often, and so the team here can know exactly what tools you are exposed to and which ones that you use very often, if you don't mind, Teresa.
All right, so Teresa here, and as I said earlier, I'm the Vulnerability Risk Program Manager at CVS, and for us here, we use, for my role in remediating vulnerabilities, the main tool we use is Vulcan Cyber, and it's kind of a vulnerability risk management platform. And so it's a SaaS solution that kind of aggregates and categorizes data from our enterprise scanning tools. For us, we do have NextPacker, CrowdStrike, Orca, and Snake all integrated into the tool. And so those are our scanning tools. And so the scanning results from these scanning tools are dumped into Vulcan so that we can take actionable steps to remediate those vulnerabilities. And so for once these vulnerabilities are dumped into Vulcan, it's able to help us to manage these vulnerabilities. In Vulcan, we can filter and be able to narrow how you want to remediate these findings. And so what it does is that once these findings come in, I can curate some filters to be able to focus on maybe critical findings, critical vulnerabilities by asset type, and then be able to, and in Vulcan 2, it's also integrated with Jira. So Vulcan goes beyond just getting a dump of our scanning results. It helps you to also manage these findings as these vulnerabilities as they come in. And so in Vulcan, I'm able to take an action to create a ticket in Vulkan, and the ticket will just go straight into Jira because it's also integrated into Jira. And in Jira, we take steps to create tickets and then assign them to the stakeholders to remediate. One interesting thing about Vulkan is that you are able to see your security posture for your entire organization by asset, by any endpoint that you want to focus on. You are able to see. So within Vulkan, I can see end of life assets that are still there and not decommissioned, and I can follow up with the teams to make sure that these are decommissioned. And in Vulkan, I'm able to also see our most vulnerable assets that these developers have just left them lying there, and I'm able to also follow up. So the Vulkan tool is really powerful when it comes to vulnerability management. That's one thing I can say, because within that tool, it's you can do everything that you want to. The metrics, the ability to also provide report is just great. And what it does is that every month I have to report on how we are doing on our security posture by asset level, by organization, and I'm able to see all those, pull all those reports for my PowerPoint slides for my monthly presentation. So that's one tool that I use for daily for my role as a vulnerability risk manager. And as I said earlier, one tool that I also use is Jira, which is just a ticket management system that I'm able to also assign tickets as they come in to the different teams. And so in my daily, every day when I come in, it's just me jumping between Vulkan and Jira to work with the teams for the vulnerabilities identified. And there is also one line of business in our company that is not integrated into Vulkan yet. And so that line of business uses Qualys, and Qualys is a cloud-based solution that kind of detects vulnerabilities on all our network assets, like our servers, devices, and then some printers and fax machines. And so for that line of business, they use Qualys, and that is not integrated into Vulkan yet. And so whatever is detected there is worked separately, and those results are dumped into Excel for ticketing with the teams. Yeah, so that's all I can share for now. Do you have any more questions for me?
All right. Thank you so much, Teresa. Well, this tells you all cybersecurity team here, very diverse, Eretmis family, very diverse. And one of our goals this year, obviously, to very, very, very inclusive and encourage people to join the family. So please, you can use this. We call our cyber, Mafia or GRC app, Mafias with Teresa and also Bernice. Please reach out to them. For those of our female, we always try to encourage women in tech. I think we did a session last year about that. We had all female panel just to encourage and also motivate our females and our women who are trying to enter into the tech space. So you can use them as your mentor as well. So thank you so much. If you all can do me a favor, Teresa and also Bernice, if you can, just for the sake of those who may probably did not hear some of the tools very well, or those who just joined, if you can type the tools that we are using in the Zoom chat, I think it'll be very great for the team to just capture that as well. Now I'll be coming to you, Kwame, my main man, one of our PCI experts, cybersecurity manager. So Kwame, can you also talk to us a little bit about the tools you use and also which of them that you use very often and how they are important in your daily cybersecurity career?
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. I've also posted the tools that we use in my company, so people can just follow suit as I speak about them. To start with is we have a proof point, and we use proof point in two forms. Proof point in the first place is for keeping compliance with PCI in terms of people sending CSG numbers and credit card information over the email. We have a system set up with proof point that will also filter and then quarantine those emails that people have to send emails to me for me to review with the content of their email, and then I have the choice of either approving based on what I see. If it shows any CSK number or credit card information, I have the right to decline or explain to you why your email didn't come through. Then internally, we use also Slack for conversation among the team. So if you have any issue, Slack is the best way to go ask questions, engage people in the company. And last 2 months we were using Sophos, but we changed it. We get to a new vendor, and the name is Sentinel-1, which is also used in scanning all endpoints to make sure it sends also alerts on issues, endpoint that has been infected or anything that's happening to an endpoint. A user happens to just be going to some website that is not allowed, we get alerted on it, and we either create email or create alerts through Jira, or take it through Jira for us to also engage the person as to why, if it's the right person to use such a tool or go to such website. Then we also change from, we used to have Arctic Wolf, but now we also transition to SecureWorks, which is also serves as a SIM tool for us. That's also brings everything that happens in the company onto a dashboard that I have to also review and make sure we respond and create ticket to respond to all vulnerabilities that shows up. There's a tool that we use that is also for Forescout. That is because of the company that I work for. It's a media company. People have computers or laptops, endpoints that they use, but sometimes they prefer using their own machines. So sometimes we try to use that to make sure is how long has the machine been offline? Is the person working for us? What is the reason of not even using the machine? So that is, it keeps us on our toes to make sure all our machines are recovered. Recorded Future is also a tool that we use to monitor our social media platforms. Like if there's any content going on, we happen to publish something that people are just bashing our head because of something that is not right, we get a letter for it. If people make comments that are not even appropriate, then we're able to see that. And then we use another platform, I don't know if I put it over here, we've got a Fishfort that's over here. That is also used to request a takedown. If somebody is impersonating one of our CEOs or one of our bigger bosses, or people are just putting comment that is inappropriate, we use that Fishfort to request a takedown, and we apply for that. It goes to our legal team, but all is done through me. Then we go through our legal team, they reach out to that company or department, and then if they don't, then we give them some days to take them to sue them. So that is what we use that for too. We also use Automox. Automox is a tool that we use for patching, because at first when I started in the company, it was done manually. We have to just make Tuesday publishing, and then I just suggested to my boss, we sat down and said, like, we have a lot of tools going on here, and we need one central tool that will do patching. So basically, we use the Automox tool for patching and then keeping track of all our assets. And we also have Sentinel-1 that is also used for Sophos. That's also used as Sophos, as I've already said. And Veronis is also used for file management. So like access management. If you don't have the right to access a file, you cannot be a housekeeping department and be accessing the HR department files in a company. So these ones will give us alert, and then we as vulnerability or cybersecurity department will reach out to the user or the supervisor of that user to reach out, like the person is trying to access a folder that he's not authenticated to use, and then we get that. And then we use Okta for access management and identity. So we like authentication. If you log into any of our platforms or any of our servers, you have to be authenticated by Okta. So those are the tools that I use on my company. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kwame, one of our PCI and also our cybersecurity experts here. Thank you so much. And hope panel, you're all taking note of, so we have different categories, like how Dr. Drew said, We have, for EDR and point detection and response, we have incident response tools. We have firewall tools, right? We have also GRC tools. Actually, one of our panel members will be talking about that here in a minute about Zen GRC. My own good friend, Michael Yeboah. We also have some tools that we use for like our SIM tools, right? Like, Mike, Kwame just talked about. So just take note that some of these tools are used in different ways, right? Of course, he talked about Proofpoint, one of our ESGs, right? Very good email security gateway helps depending on the policy of the company. Whenever you send in information out, it just flags it, detects it. If it's a PII, credit card information, whatever the case may be, the configuration is done such that it will detect it and it will prevent it from being exfiltrated out of the company, right? So they do all their configurations, the DMARC, DKIM, SPF, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, as time goes on, probably maybe we'll dive more into some of these tools, but let me quickly pivot and go to Michael here. Michael also, very experienced cybersecurity manager. He'll be talking about some of, let's pivot into vulnerability management, VM2. He'll talk about Qualys and also GRC2, very experienced GRC guy, and also using a GRC2. So Michael, please, if you don't mind, I know the whole team is waiting to hear more about our VM scanning tool and also the GRC tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, please. We can hear
Okay.
you loud and
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so I think, the previous panelists actually, went over most of the basic tools, right? So those are given. What I mean by given is that those two type of tools, once you join the company, they expect you to know it, to know how to use, excuse me, they expect you to know how to use those tools, right? So I think Bernice did mention Microsoft 365, right? And within the Microsoft 365 family, you have Outlook, you have Teams, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, right? So those are a given. Once you join the company, nobody within the company is going to waste time to, train you on those tools. So they expect you to come in and know how to basically use those tools. So I'm just going to focus on like tools that are actually essential, right? All those tools are also are essential as well, but I'm just going to focus on the tools that are actually essential to the GRC function. So I think one of my number one tools, as Michael said earlier, is just Zen GRC. So Zen GRC, Proofpoint, and ServiceNow, which abbreviation we call it in the industry. People say Snow. So let me just focus, start with Zen GRC. So Zen GRC is actually, it's a GRC tool, and it's one of the popular tools out there. It's very basic, but it gets the work done, right? And it actually helps me and ensures that, right? It basically makes my life easy, right? So one thing as a GRC analyst, right, compared to maybe somebody just working, let's say doing just TPRM, which is third party risk management, or working as a policy reviewer, you just have to focus on one area, right? But with GRC, you actually have to focus on different areas. So basically, you are managing all the different areas that falls under the GRC umbrella, right? So GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. So governance is the policy side of it, right? So basically, you are going to be the person in charge of, the dictating, right? Setting the standards. So you're going to be setting standards. You're going to be setting policies for the company, right? So whenever it comes to policy, everybody like IT policies and cybersecurity policies, everybody in the company is going to be looking at you, right? So you're going to give you the directions, and then once you set the standard, then whoever is in charge of implementation, it might be right members from the cybersecurity operations team, or it might be members from the engineering team, either IT engineering or cybersecurity engineering. They are going to implement, right? But as I said, just always remember they're going to be looking onto you because you're going to be the person in charge of setting the policy, setting the direction in which the company is going to be going, right? And then you come to the risk side, right? So as the risk manager for the company as well, I manage risk management, right? So under risk management, you have third-party risk management, you have the risk management for the company, and then you have, areas such as the risk register, which I oversee as well. And then from the GRC, so GR, so the governance risk, and then we go to the compliance area. The compliance area mainly focuses on audits, right? So it focuses on audit as well as providing training awareness to all users and employees within the company. So question is, how does Zen GRC factor or ensure or help me actually manage all these areas, right? So I'll start with policy review. So basically with policy, and one thing we have to also keep in mind is that like the O365 tools actually, cross-functionally work, integrate with all these other tools. So they integrate with both ZenGRC, with Proofpoint as well as Snow, right? So for policy review, the policy actually starts on a Word document, right? So basically, how do we conduct a policy review? So let's say next month I have a policy coming up for an update, right? So what am I as a GRC analyst? You don't have to wait for the policy to expire, right? Or to be due before you start working on it, right? So generally, that's when ZenGRC comes in. ZenGRC provides a lot of automation, right? So you can set up ZenGRC to send you reminders. So like for us, ZenGRC set up 3 months prior to the policy, expiring. It's going to send me a notification, let me know, hey, like this policy is coming up for renewal, right? And then I start the policy review machine. So whoever is the owner of that document, I'm going to schedule time with that person, sit down with the person, and then we're going to review the policy together, right? Even though I don't own that policy, remember you are the governor. Even though, okay, so like let me just back up and give an example, right? So example, encryption policy, right? So encryption policy is going to be owned by the cybersecurity engineers because they are the expert, right? So they actually knows what's the latest technology, right? What should be the encryption direction. But me personally, as a GRC analyst, I'm actually going to be sitting down with the engineers and going through a document because even though they are the expert, I have to set a standard, right? So let's say example, I can set a standard and say we are not you going to use any technology anything less than AES 256, right? So that's the standard that the GRC person is going to set. And once I set the standard, they are going to develop the policy based on the direction that I'm actually giving, even though they are the expert, right? So when policy is due for update, we start a policy review on a Word document. And Word document is actually great because it provides a lot of tracking. So it's a live document. Everybody can go in and make changes, and then we know who was the last person who touched the document, right? And which is fundamental because you don't want anybody to just come in and just touch a document, right? We want to have trackability. So if something goes wrong, we can always trace back to the last person who actually touched the document. So we start a policy review, we start a policy review on a Word document. And then once we've gone through, sitting through meetings, reviewing the policy, and once we finalize the policy, that's when ZenGRC comes in, right? So we going to use what we call the policy approval workflow. So I'm actually going to upload the policy into ZenGRC, and once I upload the policy and then push the policy, it's going to create a workflow, and then that workflow is going to go to the different people within the company who needs to review the policy and approve the policy, right? So for us, every policy has to be approved by our cybersecurity director. He's the first stop. So he's going to review. If he approves, he's gonna approve, right? And once he approves, it's going to push it right forward to the CISO, who is the ultimate approver. So let's say the CISO reviews it, and then the CISO is okay with it. He's going to approve it, right? But if he reviews and he's not okay, or maybe he thinks there needs to be an adjustment, he's going to push it back. So basically, on the ZenGRC platform, you're going to see two buttons, either approve or reject. So if you reject, it's going to kick it back, and you can reject with comments, right? So like I'm laying down this foundation because like this actually explains how easy it makes the work, right? Like imagine not having ZenGRC, right? So we develop the policy on a Word format, on a Word document, right? Then I have to maybe send an email, to like my manager to get a policy, reviewed and approved. But guess what? You have thousands of things going on. You might forget that you send an email, like, there's no trackability. But ZenGRC actually is automated. So once you push the document for approval, once it gets to the director's queue, it's going to start sending the director reminders, right? And that in that aspect, it removes the human factor, right? I'm not actually the person sending out emails to remind the director, hey, like, boss, like manager, you have to review this. You have no, like ZenGRC is going to be doing it, right? Every 2 days, it's going to send you reminders like, hey, you need to, review this document and push it forward. You need to do it, right? So that's how ZenGRC helps. So once it goes through that approval process, and then the director approves, and then the CISO approves, then it's going to come back to me. Means I've got all the approvals I need, And then that's when I'm gonna go onto SharePoint. And I know Bernice did mention SharePoint earlier. So SharePoint is basically like a repository where we for our company we actually publish all our cybersecurity policies. So once every policy has gone through the approval process, I go on SharePoint, upload the policy, and then the policy becomes our new policy for that year. So it expires or it's due for renewal for the next year. So everybody within the company can go on SharePoint and write and then review all the policies. And every policy that has been published on SharePoint has gone through an approval process, right? And there is trackability for the approval process as well. And all this comes back to auditing, right? Because guess what? Once you get audited, there needs to be trackability. So they're going to say, okay, this policy you have published on SharePoint, right? So I was earlier referring to the encryption standard, right? It might be any standard, business continuity policy, disaster recovery, right? They're going to ask you, okay, the policy go to an approval process. Okay, so show us, right? What approval process did the policy go through? Imagine not having ZenGRC. Then you have to go to your emails, right? Start digging into your emails, right? I sent an email maybe last year, right? And this is what I said in the no, but like you go as soon as the auditor asks, requests, for the evidence, guess what? I just pull up ZenGRC and everything is there, right? So it's going to show when I uploaded the policy, when I pushed the policy, when our director approved the policy, and then when the CISO approved the policy, right? So there's trackability and it makes everything easier for you, right? So that's how ZenGRC factor in when it comes to policy review, right? Another way ZenGRC factor in is when it comes to what I do on a day-to-day basis will be vulnerability management, right? So example, every Tuesday we do have our meetings to review, our vulnerability scans for Qualys. So Qualys is another tool that we use. So I'm not an administrator, but I do have access to pull up reports from Qualys. So every Tuesday we review the scanning reports, and then depending on whatever servers we can patch, we need to put in an exception, right? Or that which is part of our vulnerability. So basically, we are managing our vulnerabilities, right? So very often for SLAs, for several level agreements, like anything more than 30 days that can be patched, we have to put in an exception, right? So same things in GRC factors in, right? So an exception, so basically whoever is the owner of that server is gonna reach out to me and let me know, hey Mike, like I need to put an exception because I'm not gonna be able to patch this within the 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, right? Depending on whatever the SLA says. SLA stands for service level agreement, right? So once they reach out, I'm going to send out a questionnaire to get more details, right, on why, number one, what servers are we not patching within the, so basically what servers are we not patching and why are we not patching? So you're going to provide me the reasons, and then you're going to provide me with what are the mitigation plans. So even though we're not going to be patching these servers within maybe the next 30, 60 or 90 days, what are going to be the mitigation, plans or, the mitigation mitigation plans that we are going to put in place till those servers get patched, right? So the service owner or systems owner, whatever it is going to send me the details within the questionnaire. And once they send me the details, I'm going to upload everything into ZenGRC, right? So once I upload everything into ZenGRC, I'm going to push it forward, same as just like the policy review. So I push it forward. Once I push it forward, the systems owner's boss the business owner basically is going to review the details, right? If he reviews the details and it's okay, because one thing is every exception means there is risk, right? So somebody in the company is going to assume that risk. So you, the business owner, you have to accept that risk. So if you review the details and you are okay on why they are not going to be patching that systems, you have to accept the risk. So business owner, so just like with the policy, you get accept or reject, right? So if you accept the risk, then it's going to push it to the CISO, and the CISO has to review and accept the risk as well, right? So once we accept the risk for that vulnerability, then let's say generally we give 2 weeks, right? So every 2 weeks, I'm going to come back in and check with you. Okay, where are we with the patching? Where are we with the patching? But guess what? ZenGRC is going to remind me, send reminders, right? But imagine not having ZenGRC, right? I have to like remember, and just imagine having to remember how many vulnerabilities you have, like, having to follow up with people, like it's just going to get crazy, right? But you actually have the GRC tool that's actually helping you automate all those, processes. So ZenGRC is basically going to be sending reminders, right? So sometimes I see that even though I see the reminders from ZenGRC, I'll still follow up with, the system owner or the server owner just to ensure that, okay, hey, we are on schedule with the patching, right? Even though we said we are not going to be able to do it maybe in 30 days. We said 60 days. So okay, maybe we are halfway to 60 days. How far are we with getting it completed within that 60 days? So that's where the GRC tool comes in that helps you, basically it just makes life easier for you, right? So me personally, I can just, sometimes I just sit and I'm like, how would my life be without this GRC tool, right? Not like just a general GRC tool. We have a lot of GRC tools out there. It doesn't necessarily have to be Zen GRC, but Zen GRC is actually, I've, used different ones. And it's actually one of my favorite because it actually gets the work done, right? So I did mention policy review, vulnerability management. One other areas that GRC actually it's a big factor is TPRM, right? So third party risk management, right? So third party risk management, generally, once we have a company that we have to onboard, so like just say once procurement reaches out to me and let me know that okay, we have a new company that we have to onboard. Generally, within two companies, we have what we call a service accounts manager, right? So basically, it's the person that some people call it relations manager, right? So basically, is the individual managing the relationship between your company and the other company, right? So once I know we are onboarding a different new company, I send out a questionnaire through ZenGRC to the person who is managing that relationship within our company to get some basic information, right? Okay, so number one, what services is the new vendor going to provide to us, right? What services are they going to have access to our facilities? Are they going to have logical access? Are they going to have access to our network? Are they going to have access to our proprietary data, right? Are they going to have access to our sensitive data? So just basic information. So depending on how the accounts manager answers. So let's say if you answer yes for one of those questions, that means that that vendor is going to fall under a critical tier, right? So we have different tiers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. So based on the answer, so if they're going to have access to our network, then that means we have to do a risk assessment on them, right? So basically, like not to take too much time, but I just want to explain how a GRC tool basically helps you within your day-to-day functions when it comes to GRC in general. So also I use my Zen GRC for audit as well. So audit, so we have about 140 controls within a year, right? So ZenGRC manages all that. So whenever let's say an evidence is due, ZenGRC is going to send out a notification to the control owner to upload the evidence. And once the controller uploads the evidence, we have the various reviewers, right? So the various reviewers are going to review the evidence. And if they are okay with the evidence, they're going to, just push it forward till it gets to me. So I'm actually the auditor and then the last stop. So I'm the last reviewer. So whenever the IT control has gone through the process of all the various reviews, I then review to ensure that okay, everybody has done their job, right? So number one, the control owner has uploaded the evidence. That's one, right? That number two, our IT auditor has actually reviewed, the documentation and has approved it, right? That's two. And then three, me as the GRC analyst, I've ensured that everybody has done their job. So once I've ensured that, I go ahead and accept it, and then basically close that evidence for that control as well, right? So imagine having to manage about 140 controls within a year without a GRC tool, right? It's doable. A lot of companies, are able to work without a GRC tool, but it's a nightmare, right? Especially if you're a company like ours facing compliance with SOX, right? With SOX, like 140 controls within a year, that's a lot of controls, right? So imagine having to follow up on 140 controls within a year with no automation, having to do it by email. I mean, it's just gonna get crazy, right? So I did say about audit and also incidents, right? So ZenGRC, we also use it as incidents. So whenever there's an incident, an IT incident within the company, same thing. So whoever is in charge of that incident, I'm going to send out a questionnaire to that person. Then they're going to provide me, details of that incident. Because guess what? When we might get audited, and they might ask you, okay, let's see what incidents you guys had during the year. Okay, so this incident, where do you guys keep this, the details for that incident? So all I do is I just go into the ZenGRC, I just type the incident name, and then I pull up, the details about the incident. I don't have to go back into my emails and start digging or into my folders, so like ZenGRC, it's basically my lifeline, right? Everything I do as a GRC analyst is through ZenGRC. And then we have Proofpoint, and I think, yeah, Kwame's, spoke a little a little about Proofpoint, and so just want to add a few points about Proofpoint. So we use Proofpoint for DLP, so data loss prevention, and as a Jackson analyst, I'm actually the person in charge of setting our DLP policies, right? So what do we want to prevent people from sending, within the company? So we don't want people, number one, to send out sensitive information. And being in the healthcare industry, we don't want people to be sending out, patient health information. So HIPAA, which is, heavily against HIPAA. So basically making sure that PII, PHI are not sent out from their company. So I set the DLP policies with Proofpoint. I also use Proofpoint for phishing simulation, right? So phishing simulation, we run our phishings on a quarterly basis, right? So every 3 months we run one. So basically sending out emails just to ensure that employees and users are getting used to seeing phishing emails. So that way, when they happen to see phishing emails, like a real world phishing emails, they can identify it and then just report it or just delete it entirely from their email. And one other tool we use is Snow, which is a ticketing system. So a lot of requests comes through Snow. And I'm not going to get into the details because I think I've spoken so much, but I just don't want to, take too much of our time. So I think, Mike, yeah, I'll end it here for now. And if anybody has questions, they can reach out. But it's just too much, and there's not enough time to to go over all.
There you go. It is too much, and there is not enough time to go over it all. There you have it, Michael, for you. Very, very experienced cybersecurity manager, worth of knowledge. Because of time, like you said, there's a lot to talk about. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably do different sessions so we can go into granular details. But thank you so much, Mike. Going through the chat here, let me address some of these questions as we move on. I see the GRC has been answered, but for Augustina, GRC, you see in cybersecurity, we have different spaces, right? We have offense, defense, but GRC is the governance, risk, and compliance. It's everything started with GB controls, right? Governance, right? What framework are you adhering to? What laws, what standards, right? That's the governance, right? Risk, we do risk assessment, and also compliance, right? We have compliance, we have different frameworks that we have to be compliant, right? If you process, store, transmit cardholder data, course, PCI, and also protecting, investors from financial fraud. We have SOX, we have SOC 2 as well, cybersecurity maturity, ISO 27001. So GRC is just an acronym of like a space or an issue within cybersecurity that people work to, just like pen testing for red team and also other stuff. So that is what GRC is all about. I know someone also was asking about Zscaler. So Zscaler is a very, very good tool. We typically call it ZPA, which is Zscaler Private Access. So think about your original, it's pretty much like a cloud, delivered zero trust tool that is designed to provide pretty much like a secure, remote access into like internal applications, right? So think about your traditional VPNs, right? Granting network level access. ZPA, Zscaler goes like a step and above. It is emerging. A lot of companies are using it. I personally use ZPA. It really, really goes deep and connecting users directly to specific applications that they need, right? So it helps with secure remote access as well, also application. And that's also integrate with other stuff. So people using like maybe a VPN solution at Cisco, you can use ZPA, right? Zscaler for that solution as well. It gets into the granular policies. Probably have to do a different session because of time, but great question. Zscaler is very good. We call it ZPA. So whenever you see it anywhere, that's what it's all about. I know Michael also talked about Snow. Those of you who don't know what Snow is ServiceNow. It's also a tool. You can use it for different things, right? So like ticketing, like ticket, granting tool that he just said, creating tickets to track workflows and stuff like that. You use ServiceNow to also onboard different, assets within a company. Think about it as your CMDB, right? Configuration management database. ServiceNow is embedded into it. Whenever you get a new asset, you create a record in ServiceNow, it tracks everything, right? If you need to decommission any asset, so you can pull that record in ServiceNow as well. Because of time, I know we are an hour and 41 minutes over. Let me pivot to our final speaker, world experience speaker here. Frank is our PCI expert. Speaking of PCI, let me talk about So PCI introduced new control, right? It's comment 10.4.1.1, which is automated log review. Just remember, because of PCI, just to provide some education as well. Guess what? We have a lot of tools that can help with automated log review, right? We talk about I seem to call like maybe a curator, right? Curator, like I said, it's IBM used to own Curator, and also Palo Alto just bought Curator. But essentially, it's a very good SIEM tool that helps with daily log review, retention, audit drills, and stuff like that. It's very, very good because what it does is you have different logs, right? Different log sources. And there's no way you can do that manually, right? To track every activity that goes on within the system, right? There's no way you can catch them, right? This and Pokemon, right? It's not a Pokemon that you can catch them. You need a tool that can help track all or parse, correlate all these logs into a single solution, right? So what type of logs are we talking about? We're talking about maybe your multiple failed login attempts, unauthorized changes to like different systems, access to cardholder data or sensitive data, like different things. And it creates different tags and patterns as well, like anomalies. You can set different flags so that whenever any anomaly is detected, it will literally trigger an alert to our SOC. I see the response team, they'll go respond to it. So it is very, very good SIEM tool that helps tracks, review logs, and just good scalability. And there are so many different log sources, like I said, authentication logs, user access logs, and it's in different file formats, right? You have your JSON files and everything. So SIEM tool Curator can help parse everything, review it, and send alerts if it detects any anomaly. Okay? Because of time, I'm not going to explain more, but let me pivot to Frank. Frank, I know we are in the PCI space. Can you talk to our crowd here? We have 76 people here in the chat. Some of the tools that you use within your daily, workflow, and if you can also let us know which tools that are very critical and some of the challenges that you face in using some of these tools. Frank, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Michael. And thanks to my fellow panelists. So I rely on a lot and several tools that help me ensure compliance and data security at my organization. And I think most of the tools that Dr. Edu presented during the beginning of the chat, I'm familiar with most of it. But then I'm gonna just scale it down to the ones I work with on daily basis or monthly or quarterly basis. Then again, my fellow panelists mentioned that Microsoft 365 is crucial. Of course, you can watch YouTube videos to learn those, Excel, Word, and all that. We all have to learn it somehow to get to where we are now. So I'm gonna focus on the tools that I used to get the job done as a PCI program manager. One of the biggest is Zenput. It's more or less like a JRC tool. My organization has over 1,700 locations, sites like stores, gas stations, and franchises. So we can have eyes on all the stores and sites. So I leverage the help of regional managers, territory managers, and store managers to. I leverage their input and their submissions on Zenput to have eyes on all the stores when it comes to PCI. So they do upload their findings on the Zenput app. That way, I'm able to tell what store is doing well and which stores are not. So I conduct quarterly on-site visits. So I choose the stores that are not doing well and visit those all over the US. So that's one thing that Zenput helped me with. So there's other tools as Smartsheet for surveys to conduct surveys. Like for example, recently we wanted to conduct a survey about shredders at our stores and stuff. So the stores submitted their input on the Smartsheet app, and I believe most of you might be familiar with the Smartsheet tool. And there's also Zscaler for I mean, my company is going through tech modernization over the past year, so we kind of changing most of our tools and moving away from some of them. So, for instance, we used to have Okta for authentication and single sign-on purposes, and we moved from that to Microsoft Entra slash Authenticator, and we have Microsoft Defender for spam, for email management, and Microsoft Intune for mobile device management as well. And also on quarterly basis, I conduct vulnerability scans when as most of you know, with PCI, you have to conduct ASV scans quarterly. So we use Qualys PCI. That's a vulnerability scanning tool that we use. So I reach out to the NetOps team and get the current IPs, being the external and the internal IPs, or some would say private and public IPs. So I get that from them, and I use Excel to format those and put it in the Qualys portal and send it over for scanning. So once that the report comes back, there could be some false positives in there that I need to kind of explain why they are those, and if they accept those, we tend to have a passing score. So that's for the ASV scanning tool right there. And we for internal scanning we utilize Rapid7. That's another vulnerability scanning tool that we use for vulnerabilities. And what am I missing? And Michael, what was the second question again? Said challenges we face with the tools, right?
Yeah, any challenge that
Okay.
you're facing in some of these tools.
Okay. So some of the challenges are, I would say, limited resources, like kind of prioritizing your risks, severity, and ensuring critical issues are addressed first. And that tend to be a bigger issue. And also integration issues when adopting new tools, like we are going through tech modernization right now. It's a bit challenging. We have to conduct thorough testing to ensure compatibility with our existing systems. So it becomes a bit challenging. And also, like I think I mentioned, false positives too. Sometimes, they can be overwhelming to teams and also distract us from real threats. And managing those to fine-tune detection rules and whitelist known safe activities is also a challenge. Yeah, so that'll be it for now, Michael.
All right. Thank you so much, Frank. So, we really do appreciate our panelists, but I'm trying to be a respecter of time here. Looking at the time that we have, I think we are an hour and 49 minutes over, almost 2 hours. So we'll probably pause here for a second. I'll go through the chat and see if we have other questions. If not, I'll open up to the floor and see if anybody has any specific questions so we can help address those questions. Going through the chat here so we can wrap it up. Give me 1 second. Yeah, great discussion today. As you all can tell, there's a lot. Probably maybe as we look for questions, I can address some few things here. One thing that we really did not talk about is certificates. Certificates is very, very critical, right? PCI has a full requirement about that requirement for whenever you send in something, you have to make sure it's sent over trusted, networks, right? And also trusted places that if maybe I'm sending something to maybe Frank LLC, I have to make sure that it's going to Frank LLC, right? And not maybe Dr. Du's garage, right? That is why certificates are very important. When Dr. Du was sharing his slide, he showed some of the certificates tools, some of the certificate authorities like DigiCert, also Venafi or Venify, Plan that people use. We have different types of certificates, validation processes that will help validate whoever you are sending it to make sure it is trusted, right? So it's going to the right person. So when you look at your browser, you see that little padlock sign that tells you that, okay, it is secure, right? And when you click on it, you go to a digital certificate, it will tell you the certificate authority as well. So it's good to, play around and take a look at it. We have different validation techniques. We have like OV, which is organizational verification. We have domain and also extended validation as well. Maybe because of time, I'm not going to go into it, but I just wanted to highlight that certificate is very, very critical in our compliance as well, to make sure that the intended person that you need to send any information to is actually the right person. That's how you verify the identity through their certificate, right? All right, let's see. I'm going through the questions here. I think we got everything covered here. I'll open up for questions. Let me see if anybody has any questions. I think we can use the next probably 5 minutes to open up to the floor and answer any questions you may have before we wrap it up for tonight. We had a lot to discuss, but as you can tell, because of time, and also we had to respect some of our stakeholders who are overseas and in other parts of the world. We have to respect their time as well. So please, any questions before we wrap it up? And we'll probably think about see if we can do a part 2 of this session. Great information all around. Going through here, no questions. I'm going through the chat one more time. And also, like Dr. Du always says, please, if you have any certification that is coming up on renewal, just type Team Live and take a screenshot, just file it away. You can use it as your CPE or CEU as well. And just going through the chat here, just want to recognize some of our individuals and our friends, Eretmis family from different walks of the world. We have Belair from California, also Eric from Toronto, Canada as well. We have people from Florida, I call them Florida as well. We have George all the way from Ghana, the motherland as well. We have Uzoma from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I hope you're all doing well in your neck of the woods. Going down, we have Durham, North Carolina. Faisal, thank you so much for joining. Jacqueline from H-Town, Houston, Texas. Thank you, Lone Star State. Thank you so much. I'm going through the chat here. I know my own friend, Michael. Michael is over in Georgia, my neighbor here. Going through the chat here. Thank you all. We appreciate you all. Let's see any more shout outs here. I think, yeah, we have Ife Olua also from Georgia, Charlotte, North Carolina, Glenda. Thank you so much. Okay, so what should one expect working in retail or finance or health sector? Mamus, do you mean your question is what should one expect working in retail or finance? So do you mean working in these industries and pretty much cross breeding into cybersecurity? If that is your question, it doesn't matter your background, right? You can always pivot. Yep, give me 1 second. All right, back online here. Yeah, so if that was your question, Mamus, hopefully I answered it. It doesn't, we have different people. We had a nurse, we had a lawyer who pivoted into cybersecurity, a nurse. Like we have people, those who spoke actually different backgrounds. Michael is an economist. Frank, Michael, scientist, I think biologist or, something like that. So yeah, it doesn't matter your background, whether you're doing finance, retail or health, you can always pivot into cybersecurity. Nina is asking, is it too late? No, it's not too late to enroll into the cybersecurity GRC internship. I'll probably have Dr. Du touch on this, but I believe the next class will be starting maybe tomorrow, I believe. But yeah, if you are not part of our Eretmis family WhatsApp chat, please, all the link has been put in the Zoom chat here. Please go ahead and follow the link, join, and we always post all any communication within the family, all the courses that is coming up, the start times and everything. You can also go to the Eretmis website as well. I think Augustina have a question. Please go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Am I being heard?
Yes, loud and clear, please go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Augustina. Thank you so much for all the panelists. It was very insightful. So my question is that I'm currently a PhD student in the US. Yes, I'm in my 4th semester. So I was just thinking about switching careers, like the academia is getting boring and all that. But when I research on this cybersecurity, all the other classes, not from like your academy, are saying that even if I take the classes, I'll need a work authorization before I can get a job. So I wanted to ask, is that the same thing with your academy? Have you had instances where a student started a class like and had work authorization later before applying for the jobs? Any of the panelists can also answer if they entered into cybersecurity with work authorization or they got it after. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Augustina. Yeah, because I'll quickly answer your question, but please, we can also work with you offline, but just generic. So to work here, I'm thinking you want to work here in the US. I think United States laws to work within the US, you need to have a work permit or work authorization. So you need that. Most companies, I wouldn't say most, but we do have some companies, obviously, they do sponsor with some work authorization. So Eretmis as a company, I'll probably have Dr. Do speak more about this, but we are not an immigration, academy that we assist students with work authorization and stuff like that. But what we can help you with is gaining all the knowledge, the tools that you need, help applying for jobs, because some of these jobs too, when they are interested in you, they can help you with your work authorization and also other things, legal matters that will help you, legally work here in the US. But we can take that conversation offline. You can, if you are not part of our cybersecurity Eretmis WhatsApp chat, I'll highly encourage you to join, and we can also talk offline. I know you were driving, but if you go to Eretmis Academy or Eretmis website, you can book a one-on-one session. We can walk you through, probably have a more personal conversation, if you will, just to help you out. All right. Any other questions before we wrap it up? I'm going through here. See nobody. I think Eric, please go ahead. Eric, and then also Mamus, please.
Yeah, thank you, guys. That was a good presentation. So it's a contribution in terms of Zscaler. You mentioned about ZPA. Yes, that's good. And I wanted to say that they have ZIA. ZIA, which means it's almost like a CDN, like during the presentation of Dr. Adu, he was talking about Impriva or Akamai. Those are the CDN, like a content delivery network. So they have a good solution. And on top of that, they have ZDX. ZDX, it works like a NAC, like a new generation NAC. And now they put in place of branch connectors, which is replacing the SD1. So SD1 is software defined network. So that's why I want to say you have to watch Zscaler is coming out with good devices, with good tools. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. I could not agree more, Eric. Yeah, Zscaler is here to stay. I use it personally myself. So thank you so much for the CDN input. Please go ahead, Mamus. Mamus, can you hear me? You can go ahead.
Yeah, my question was, what I was trying to ask was, some people work in retail, some work in the oil and gas industry, others work in the health sector as a GRC analyst. And these are different environments, but they do the same thing. So my question was, what are the differences in those environments? No, I know, for example, health sector, you will have to talk about HIPAA and HITRUST and all of that, but what are the distinct differences in working in these different sectors?
All right, great question, Mamus. Yeah, so depending on the type of industry, they have their own compliance frameworks that they need to adhere to. For tools, will pretty much be the same, but when you work in healthcare, obviously you have to be in compliance with HIPAA. You're talking about high trust; it's a different framework that they use as well. Oil and gas, obviously, I'm sure people buy if you have a gas station. Actually, we have one of our panel members here. Frank, he works in the ONG industry as well. They do PCI DSS, so he does GRC with specialty in PCI as well. Honestly, depending on your environment, this is literally something that you do. So financial sector, of course, SOX, you have to comply with SOX because of, and also publicly traded listed on a company to prevent any financial, fraud or anything like that, to stay in compliance with SOX. And these are all security controls. And I always tell people that irrespective of the environment that you work in or the industry, whether healthcare, retail, ONG, oil and gas, dependent, it doesn't care. Always it's going to be the general ITGCs, right? Very basics, right? I always call them back to the basics. There's always going to be incident response, network security. There's always going to be disaster recovery, vulnerability management, identity and access management. So some of these ITGCs controls, so IT general controls, they are very common irrespective of the different industry. The only difference, Mamus, that I'll say is depending on your area, that will depend on the type of compliance framework that you have to, right? When it comes to data and privacy, of course, GDPR, NIS2 over in Europe, right? We have the ITAR, NYDFS for New York. We have different frameworks depending on your industry that you work for. The similarity is some of them are very common. It cuts across all different sectors. Yeah, please, any other questions? I hope that helped you, Mamus. Going through the chat here. I think that's it. Appreciate everyone. We are 2 hours and 3 minutes over. Appreciate everyone. Of course, like Dr. Du says, it is Friday night. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here. We appreciate everyone for joining. Thank you so much. I don't know, Dr. Do you have anything before we wrap it up for tonight?
All right. Thank you, Michael, and all our panelists. We appreciate you. And like we always do at Eretmis, all our panel members, they are all part of the Eretmis family. They've gone through different programs at Eretmis, and they are now rock stars in the companies that they are working for. And we appreciate your insights and having that, sharing with us and your time. And we know we are going to have a similar session like this, so we want to always make it a variety. I think panel members who were from the previous two cyber chats is Frank and Michael. But we always spice it up and add more. We have a whole army of cybersecurity professionals, who can be on one session. I think we did one cyber chat and we had almost 10 panel members. But that was too much, right? Now we try to, trim it down. Even for today, we had a lot that we could have gone into, but still time. And because we have at least 4 or 5 panel members sharing their opinions on this. So we appreciate everybody's time. Have a great and wonderful weekend. We are going to meet same time next week, God willing. So stay blessed, stay warm, and we are going to meet next week, same time, for another insightful edition of Cyber Chat. Thank you, Michael, for being an awesome co-pilot, and thank you all our panel members, Teresa, Venice, Frank, Michael, and if am I missing anybody else? I think we have.
Kwame, our very own Kwame.
And Kwame. Yeah, Reverend Kwame. Yes, and Kwame. So appreciate everybody's time. Have a great and wonderful weekend. We are going to meet same time next week. Stay blessed. Thank you.